Welcome back to our happiness podcast, Happyish, which involves me, Chris, and my better half, Sally.
Hello.
And this week, we are looking at what would a wise person do?
Yep.
And you've picked that.
I've picked this.
Why have you picked what would a wise person do?
Well, it's a little phrase, an aid memoir that I use from my philosophy classes.
Yep.
So it's another way to pause before you make a decision or do something. And it's a little bit of self-knowledge. It's implying or suggesting that wisdom is innate. What would a wise person do in this situation? So
by innate, do you mean that we actually don't have to ask that wise person? We just imagine what they would do, which means that we actually already know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about it, isn't it? I saw somebody with do you remember when we had those yellow Armstrong bands, Live
yeah.
Strong? Do you remember? And then there were lots of other bands, and I saw somebody with WWJD on.
Okay.
And I actually said, what's that? And it's what would Jesus do?
Well.
So they go around all the time with this band, reminding them to, in every situation, to think, what would Jesus do? And whether or not you believe in him, it's a great idea, isn't it, to think, what would he do? Because he's obviously a great role model.
Yeah.
And you've extended it to any wise person. Do we need to have a wise person in mind? I mean, do you have one? Who do you picture? Roger Federer, probably.
No, I don't picture Roger Federer. But the idea is that it opens a channel so that you can think what would be the best thing to do in this situation.
Yes.
And it's a way to know yourself a bit more, to get a bit of peace, think that you've made a right decision, taking the time to make a right decision. Because we've also discussed before about whether there's such a thing as right and wrong decisions. I think in the moment there aren't right and wrong decisions, but when you look back, you can think, oh, maybe I could have made a better decision then. But if you've actually considered your decision before you make it.
Yeah, it makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
Then that's the awareness, the personal awareness, what's going on.
So before you lose your temper or send that angry email, you think, well, hang on, what would a wise person do?
Yeah.
And then it just makes you stop and think, well, actually, Jesus probably wouldn't send that email going, you can get stuff, or whatever, would he? Or whoever the wise person it would be.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't. So, but I think it's fascinating that we know what the wise person would do, and yet we don't do it unless we stop and think about this.
No.
So it's really odd that we have all the answers already within us, innate.
Yeah. So quite often you can just decide to, would you just decide whether or not you're going to buy the chocolate bar or whether you're going to buy the apple? Then that's one thing. You don't have to think all the time. And in fact, when I was in class and I was teaching it once, I got some feedback from somebody who said that she was away for the weekend and she had to go, on the second day, she had to go from A to B, and she knew that she might not have enough petrol in her car. And so she thought, what would a wise person do? A wise person would go out of their way a little bit to fill up the car with petrol so that you could do the journey safely and easily without any worry. And she said, what do you think I did? And I went, oh, well, I hope. And she went, no, I just did the journey anyway. So she took the risk and it was all fine. She arrived at her destination. And I think she felt as though she'd got one up on the wise person. But so it's not a fixed in, but I think the demonstration of that is she had considered it and she just decided to go against the grain and whatever.
Yeah. Well, when we were planning this, I was thinking about examples of this. And, the angry email I mentioned is one. But I think generally laziness is another one, isn't it? Where she was too lazy to go and fill up, and she got away with it that time. But a wise person would not have done that. And I think generally we tend to be lazy. And in fact, in the Road Less Travelled, it says that laziness is the root of all of our problems.
Yeah.
And when you think, what would a wise person do? The wise person wouldn't be lazy. you know, I mean, we won't go on about Jesus all the time, but I can't think of any time in the Bible where he's lazy. Jesus couldn't be bothered to go and feed the 5,000 or whatever it was. And so, you know, the wise person wouldn't be lazy. They would do the work. And so quite often when we're thinking, can I be bothered? To think, what would a wise person do? It's a good way to tell yourself, I ought to do the work. I ought to do this properly.
Yes.
I shouldn't cut corners or avoid. And procrastination's another form of that, where, you know, a wise person wouldn't procrastinate confronting a problem or whatever, or doing the work. That they would just get on with it, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So it's a good way of thinking, well, if that's what they would do, that's what I should do. So, but it is fascinating that we don't even need to know who it is. It doesn't have to be Jesus. It could be just some sort of mythical, like Marcus Aurelius or something. I don't even know what he looks like, but he's obviously wise. So you can just think, well, what would he do? So
you can kind of think of a wise person in your life. And when you're, and you can have, I mean, you said Roger Federer, but anybody like that, you can think, you can look up to them as somebody wise, and what would they do? But my idea is that the wisdom is innate. So we do know the right thing to do. So
we don't need an actual person.
No.
What would Keir Starmer do? Actually, it's interesting when you start thinking about politicians, because I don't think any of them are a wisdom role model. I mean, maybe you could say, what would Barack Obama do? You know, he's got a bit of wisdom, but there's not many wise people around.
No, but also
models,
politicians particularly, I'm not sure that they can always follow their own wisdom. They've got so many
their hands are tied.
Things that are impressed upon them.
Yes.
My definition of wisdom here is the knowledge to live truly and happily.
Ooh.
So it's using the knowledge to make a decision that will make you happy.
Yeah. What would Freddie Mercury do? What would Robbie Williams do? But it's interesting that there aren't, I mean, all these role models we have, they tend to be in the distant past, Gandhi or somebody. But
because we know more about them.
Yeah.
You know, once...
You don't think it's a function of the modern world that we just don't have wise people anymore?
No, I don't. No, I don't at all. I think that there's plenty of wise people out there, even just within your own circle, you know, maybe your own mother.
Yes.
But you know, you feel more as though you know what people think.
Writers.
Yeah. If they've gone, then you have more indication of how they lived their lives.
Yeah.
Don't you? You know more about them. You know the good and the bad things, and the things that worked and the things they followed and kept them happy. And we know that people change throughout.
So although we may not have a wise person in mind, we know what generally wise type of people probably would do, because we know in our hearts what we should be doing anyway.
Well, exactly.
But it is a great way to do it. It's a great way to take yourself out of the now, get rid of your laziness, and maybe also to override your emotions. Yeah. So when you are angry or impatient or whatever, then what would a wise person do? Well, they would rise above their emotions.
Pause and think.
I thought of one more Jesus thing though. He did get angry and throw all the tables over in the temple, didn't he?
He did.
But that's kind of an amazing and shocking moment, because it's about the only time that he gets annoyed. And obviously he's got a good reason to.
Yeah.
But generally he's very calm, I think. Yeah. And so I think we generally would think a wise person would remain calm, even in a really difficult situation. So it's a good way of just reminding ourselves to not let our emotions control what we do.
And it's a good way to think of it and therefore use the practice, is if you think about what you think is a quality of wisdom. What do you think wise people do? What would you expect Gandhi or Jesus or blah, blah in this situation to do? Or how do you expect them to react calmly and using the knowledge that they had and thinking about the other person, maybe being more open, looking at the wider picture.
Yes.
Not just that one decision. Because quite often...
Not being selfish. Certainly.
Yes, because quite often you're making a decision that is quite easy to make in the moment, but you know that in the long term is not going to be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
so
you
do
still
it.
you still make the decision. So
yeah, it's very easy to do decisions just for yourself or just for the short term, and both of those are not a good way to go for your long-term happiness.
No.
Are wise people a bit boring? It just occurred to me when you were describing them then.
Well, they might be boring to you, but this is a bit about self-knowledge. So would you, as long as you are calm and peaceful, then maybe it doesn't matter if other people think you're boring. If you're happy.
I mean, Jesus didn't have much fun. He wasn't much of a party animal, but then he had bigger things to do.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to waste any of his life just partying, quite right. But I guess for the likes of us normal people, we could be a mixture. So we could have a bit of fun and be a bit of a child and waste a bit of time every now and then.
Yeah.
But we could also be wise when it comes to important things. We could spend half of the time being wise.
The wise decision in a situation might be to throw things aside and play with your grandchildren, or kick a football around, or go for a walk in the park, rather than do the work that you need to do in the office. Or,
yes, to harvest a little bit of happiness and fun while it's there, rather than always planning for the future and being serious.
Yes, but again, it's coming into the present, coming into the now, and just thinking, or just accessing your own mind, your own character, your own life, to see if you can find what is the wise decision in this situation.
In fact, quite often, I think wise people say, don't let work consume you. Don't work too hard, but make sure you get your work-life balance right and spend time with your friends and things.
Yeah.
So what would a wise person do? Definitely won't necessarily mean that you always have to work hard in terms of your job.
No.
So they'd be about balance as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
and
it's about you.
So you're allowed to have some fun and still, a wise person might recommend that you have fun, I hope.
I hope so.
I don't know, I just wanted to check on that one there, because
it's a good point though, because it can sound a bit boring. But then in the long term, it could really not be boring at all, because you've cleared the air, you've been open, you've asked a question, or you've told somebody something that, you think they might not necessarily want to hear, but that they need to hear.
Yeah, I think maybe it goes back to my balance between enjoy and achieve.
Yeah.
Because a non-wise person might just go for maximum enjoyment and never achieve anything, which will make them unhappy in the long term.
Yeah.
10 years later, they'll go, why is my life so rubbish? And the answer is, you weren't very wise 10 years ago. Or a non-wise person might become obsessed with achieving and forget to look after their health or their friends or family or anything, and just become too much of a workaholic. And that would be non-wise as well. So I think the wise person would say, you need to do a bit of work here, or don't overdo that.
Yeah.
So, and as you have said, it's within us. That knowledge of what we should be doing is already within us.
Yeah.
So by asking this little magic question, what would a wise person do? We can tap into that huge, great reservoir of knowledge that we usually don't.
No.
Because we're just drifting through life, getting annoyed and being selfish and all the things that we do.
That's right, because we don't realise that we've got it. And also there's the point of making the decision that suits our character, that suits what we want, not what other people want.
Yes.
So self-knowledge, you think, last time I agreed to work extra hours even though I want to go out with my friends or whatever, and think, no, I don't need to do that anymore. That's not the best way to go, because then I'm not happy in the future.
Oh, that's just made me think of another question.
Okay.
Which is, are we saying, what would a wise person do? Or are we saying, what would a wise person advise me to do?
Ooh.
Based on the puny pygmy that I am compared, so it's basically, it's not what would Jesus do in this situation, or it's what would he think I should do, bearing in mind I'm not him and I've got all my weaknesses and stuff. And that's quite a thought, isn't it?
It is. But
maybe we should just aspire to do what he would do.
Yeah. Yes. And examine what's in front of you. What's in front of you is your teacher. What's in front of you right now is what you've got to deal with and think about. Don't just make decisions quickly and not really care about what you're doing.
So when you've got that annoying customer who's asking you yet again for some really difficult thing that they haven't even really paid for, rather than just giving it to them or telling them to F off or various options, you would think, what would a wise person do?
Yeah, what's going to be the best option?
And it might be that you might calmly negotiate with them and say, well, I can do it, but it'll cost you a bit or whatever. But you would tap into the knowledge of this imaginary friend that you've got who will help you, kind of thing.
Because you don't want to suddenly go, right, you can have it all, I don't care, you just pay whatever you like. And then a bit further down the line, I mean, there's always that moment after almost anything one does, and you think, if I thought about that differently, then I would have done something different. You're just trying to put that off a little bit.
And what would a wise person do means that you'll handle situations better, probably get better results, which in the end will make you happier. Yeah. Or certainly avoid unhappiness, like running out of petrol in the middle of the night somewhere, like your friend nearly did. That's an outrageous example. Or it will avoid you being lazy and paying some sort of price, or getting angry and suffering some sort of consequence.
I just felt as though that was a really good example, because she thought about it and decided to take the risk, but then she was knowingly taking the risk. So if she had run out of petrol in the middle of the night, she'd have thought, I'm ridiculous. But she would also be prepared for it, one hopes.
Yeah, and I think wise people do take risks sometimes. You might think, well, a wise person wouldn't go hugely out of their way, just on the tiny chance they might run out.
And it's also about living life happily as well, and in an open way, not necessarily being boring, as you suggested earlier, which is a fair point.
Well, we met that guy the other day who went, I'm just not a risk taker. I never take any risks. I never have. And you're thinking, is that wise? Because I think a wise person is not the same as somebody who plays it totally safe all the time.
No.
I think a wise person might say, well, sometimes you have to take some risks, and, the downside's not that bad. So, and the upside is huge. So take the risk.
Yeah.
So there's not an easy answer to being wise, but we know when we look at the situation in front of us, don't we?
And I personally have found it very helpful in my life. So I use it quite a lot.
So there it is. What would a wise person do?
Okay,
have that.
Just another thing that you could possibly use.
Tattoo it on your hand or have it in mind. It is a really good phrase. I don't really ever use it, and I should. I like it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to incorporate that. I think it's a really clever little technique. Right, should we see what the quote is? Would you like to bring on the pottery provider of quotes? Thank you very much, the pottery provider. And the quote this time is, you can never get enough of what you don't need to make you happy. You can never get enough of what you don't need to make you happy. So stuff you don't need, like donuts, or, you can't get enough to make you happy. However many donuts, it won't make you happy because you don't need them.
Right, okay.
Or possibly money, actually. You can never get enough money to make you happy. You always think if you can have some more, it'll make you happy, but it won't.
Yes.
Or whatever else it is that you think, or just stuff. Just clothes, endless pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
As we record this, it's Croctober. So there's a sale in the Croc shop. They're calling it Croctober, and but you can never get. Are you wearing your
Crocs now? No, you're not. I'm actually wearing
not.
Crocs
no, but only because I went to the Audi garage today to take my car in. And I wanted to impress them, and I thought I'd better not turn up in Crocs, otherwise I'd be wearing them. But the point is that that you can't. Just one more pair of Crocs it's never going to be enough to make you happy. So you can never get enough of what you don't need to make you happy. It's not very well phrased, but it's a clever idea.
I know, but then sometimes those make you think more, don't they?
Yes.
Think.
And I can't rearrange the sentence to make it work better. Like, it won't make you happy to keep trying to get more of what you don't need. It's kind of what he's saying. It's clearer but less good. No. So that's Eric Hoffer. You've got an example of this, have you?
You'll have to do it. No, haven't you got another example of this from one of your favourite musicians?
Oh, yeah. Well, I do love... There's a James McMurtry song.
Yeah.
Where he says, I don't want another drink. I just want the last one again.
Of course.
I think
that is
But,
so
you
good.
can never get enough drink to make you happy.
Yeah.
Because you don't need it. But I do love that line. I don't want another drink. I just want the last one again.
Yeah.
Particularly as the first one is the best.
Yeah, and that's true. And that is really a great line. That's so true of everything, isn't it?
There's another song where he says, I'm getting pretty old now and I don't care. All I want is a comfortable chair. And I think that's brilliant as well, because, you don't want loads of furniture and loads of chairs and loads of great big house. Trying to get more isn't going to be the answer. You just want one comfortable chair.
Yeah.
James McMurtry.
Although getting a comfortable chair is harder than you'd think. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, we may be doing an episode on furniture.
Okay, perfect. So I like that one. Can we have it one more time?
Yep. You can never get enough of what you don't need to make you happy.
Brilliant. But you can get more of Happyish.
Yes, you can get more of Happiness. You can look back at all our previous episodes. I think we've done about 17 now or something.
Yeah.
And you can see them all on our YouTube channel. You can
great to see you.
You can listen on Spotify and all the usual podcast places, of course, the apps. So do that. And obviously, if you don't already follow us and subscribe, then it would be great if you could do that. Tell your friends and come and see us again next week when we will be pondering something completely different. It'll be to do with happiness, but it'll be completely different to this.
That's great.
So there we are. What would a wise person do? That is all for now. Goodbye from us.
See you then. Bye.